Hello and welcome to Newport Lifesaving Club channel. Today we'll be talking about the radio call, which is one of the key aspects and components to the first aid competition. Before I begin, I'm just going to give a disclaimer that none of this is professional and we do not endorse anything that is discussed in this video. We advise that you seek professional assistance or guidance. Alright, without further ado, the radio call. Now, for the radio call, it is one of the main things that you need to do in the competition, and it is worth a lot in considering what you actually need to do. So if you look over here, I'm just going to unblur it now, it is worth 30 points. Now 30 points is a lot, considering that in the really high-end competitions where the difference between first and second place is 3 points. 30 points for a radio call could mean the difference between a gold or a silver. Now, for radio call, there are a total of 8 things that you need to do, and then you get marked on how calm or how fluent you are when you're doing it. Now, the reason why we do the radio call in the first aid comp is that it is to emphasize that one of the main things you can do to help patients is by getting emergency services to them. So, if you look to our left over here, we have an arrow saying from first to last, and this is the process that you need to follow when you're doing the radio call. Now, the radio call is basically going to do, if I'm going to put in the words, it's to relay what's happening in the situation. So in the scenario, you're going to given a few things, and some of them are going to require emergency service, like an ambulance, and you might even need police assistance. The radio is going to help you provide those to those patients, and this is how you're supposed to do it. So without further ado, if we go to the first one, it's identify self. So when you do the radio call, you identify your name and your club. For example, I'm from Newport Surf Club, so I will say, let's just say we're calling Surfcom. Surfcom, this is Newport First Aider Marvin, over. You wait for a response, and then you do the next stage, which is exact location. So for the exact location, you need to know the nearest intersection of where you're located and provide additional information. So for example, if I give the exact location, I would give the intersection, and then hypothetically, if I was in the tent, the patrol tent, I would say I'm in front of the surf club under the red and yellow tent. Something like that. It's very simple to do, and it's also very important because in real life you need to relay that so ambulances or police do not get confused and know exactly where they're going. And then after you do the location, you need to talk about the incident, what actually happened. Now, sometimes it can be very easy to explain it, and sometimes it can be complicated. For example, in some scenarios, there might be completely separate incidences, which then you need to then highlight that there are separate incidences. Sorry, my pronunciations are pretty bad, but other times you could easily just say there has been a car crash. Now, those ones are the easiest to do, but again, you just need to tell them what's happened, and this gives them an idea of the severity. For example, if there's been a car crash, obviously, Surfcom is going to be more focused on getting emergency services towards it than compared to an incident at the beach where there's been a few crashing waves. Okay, so after you do incident, then you need to go to number of patients. So let's just say there's been a car crash with 3 patients. In this situation, you need to tell the Surfcom how many patients you have and their age and gender. That's important for other reasons. I'm not going to go into detail, but you just need to give a guess. Let's just say there are 3 patients, with patient 1 being a 31-year-old male, patient 2 being a 21-year-old female, etc. So that's also important. And number of patients goes into conjunction with this one here, which is the nature of the injuries. Now, these work hand in hand. You need to prioritize. So when you do the radio call, and there will be an example video after this kind of slide, when you do the patients you need to also give the injuries, and you need to give it from the most severe to less severe. So, for example, when I say patient 1, I would also have that patient allocated with the most severe injury. For example, a spinal injury is greater than a laceration to the hand. So I would say patient 1, a 31-year-old female, has a suspected spinal, and patient 2, a 10-year-old male, has a laceration to his arm. That way, there is a priority set up, and the SurfCom has an understanding of what's occurring. Okay, so I'm kind of blabbering on, but you get the idea. So these work together, and you need to be fluent with it. It's not a step. It is a step-by-step process, but these kind of mix together into a nice blend. All right, next thing is the treatment. What have you done so far? For example, let's say for patient 1, you'd say, patient 1 has currently been treated with his body immobilized and his head secured. Again, you have to be honest here. If you haven't started anything, you need to tell them right away, or you can say that you are beginning treatment. Again, very simple. Next one is further instructions. So after you do treatment, you say over, and then you wait for any instructions. You can then insist that is there any further information that you require. Usually they won't say anything else if you've done this correctly. If not, they'll tell you, for example, if you fail to mention treatment, they will tell you, have any of the patients been treated, and then you would have to repeat it. And then after that, you then say, be the last to hang up. So you tell them, I'll be the last one to hang up over, and you wait for them to kind of cancel you out. So that's a step. Once you understand this and you become fluent, this takes about 2 minutes, and it's very quick to do. It's probably one of the easiest things to do once you have experience. And also, it's 30 points. Okay. So let's go to important notes over here. Is when you're doing the radio call, after you do the radio call, it's always important to update on changes. So changes such as, let's just say patient 1 was having difficulties breathing. If you radio in saying that he has difficulty breathing, and then 2 minutes after your radio call he goes unconscious, you need then to update the radio or SurfCom what's happened. And you need to do that for anything else. Like, for example, you need to update if another patient appears into the scenario, then you need to tell SurfCom that another patient has arrived. Again, just another tip, when you're doing treatments, that's the time when you ask SurfCom for ambulances. So if there's 4 patients and you know that 2 patients need ambulance or emergency services, you can say, we are requesting 2 ambulances. And if there is someone, for example, who is wielding a knife or is being dangerous, you can then request police assistance. So that's all kind of under this treatment section. Anyway, the second star is always remain calm and speak fluent. It's important because, again, one of the last marking sheets or kind of guidelines is how well you present yourself over the radio. And you don't want to be kind of blabbering on like what I've been doing. You want to be concise, straight to the point, and you want to be able to speak as fluent as possible. Okay. The last thing is to look up, this is more of a specific tip when you're competing, is to look up your exact location on Google Maps. I've done that for almost every competition I've been in. I've looked at which beach it was, and then I looked at the nearest intersections, because it's important so you're not looking around in the scenario, because I've seen people caught off guard at the last minute, and you want to do this as quickly and effectively as possible, and knowing where you are would help significantly in this process. Okay, so now that we've done the basic overview of radio call, I'm going to show you a video now, and it's going to give you how it should be presented. Again, you're going to hear my voice, so I hope it's not too boring. All right, thanks guys.
This is a test. SurfCom, this is Newport First Aider Marvin, over. SurfCom, we are located at the intersections of George and Groover Street. Exact location is in building number 203, level 3, right of the bathroom. There has been an assault with a total of 4 victims. Dear patient, patient 1, a 21-year-old male, has multiple lacerations to his face and a suspected spinal. Patient 2, a 32-year-old male, has a compound fracture on his right arm. Patient 3, a 19-year-old female, has lacerations to her left arm, and patient 4, a 42-year-old male, is suffering from hyperventilation and has difficulty breathing. Currently, patient 1 has been treated with his body immobilized and bleeding controlled. Patient 2 is being treated by our other first aider, and patient 3 has been treated with bleeding controlled. Patient 4 is being reassured and monitored. We are requesting 2 ambulances and police assistance. Over. Is there any other information required? I'll be the last one to hang up. Over.